Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome to the second episode in the World of Tanks mini-series, Retrospective and Tutorials, woo! Now, today we're going to be having a look at not only a Tier 2 tank, but we're also going to be having a look at the crew skills, and also having a bit of a chat about how things have changed since patch, when I started, because 6 patches have come in and out since I've played. Well, since I started playing it, I believe. Yeah, about 5 or 6 patches have come in, each introducing either new nations, new maps, and more importantly, new tanks. So, I'll see you when we go to Panzer II. Here we are then. So here's the Panzer II. Now, a little trivial thing beforehand. This isn't the premium. This isn't the standard garage that you get. Just to let you know, in case you are wondering if you do go onto this game. This is a modded garage. Not that... Well, this is basically... what the mod I've got on at the moment basically gives you the premium garage without having to get the premium account. But if you get the premium account, you can see here it's a standard account. If you don't have the premium account, you're in this rather tiny, ugly-looking garage, just to let you know. Anyway, so this is the Panzer II. And Tier 2 German tank, 20mm cannon, 170 hit points. All round, a very good tank. This is one of the few tanks which I quite enjoyed playing. I don't know, with this tank, it's a bit like... Let's try to find a way of saying it. With this tank, how I kind of... The tank with me kind of flowed. I think that's the best way I could describe it. It's kind of... When you've got a vehicle which you enjoy using a lot, and you find you can work with the easiest, to get used to the quickest, or the fastest, there we go. That sort of thing. That kind of tank. That's kind of how it was with another example, if we try and find another one. It's a bit like me and bolt action rifles in Red Orchestra 2. You've got... I love bolt action rifles. They are my favourite kind of mechanism for firing weapons. Yes, there are the disadvantages that if you cock it up and you shoot without hitting the target, you've got to manually cock the bolt back and put it back in. But if you know what you're doing, you don't miss. So, but no, with tanks like this, I found myself quite enjoying this tank. I mean, nowadays I prefer shell types, but back then, and to be honest with you now, I still quite like this tank. I have fond memories of this tank. When I first went through, and when I was going through this tank, and I, was ranking everything up, and it was looking like quite a dream. I quite enjoyed this tank. I would say this tank is pretty good for going up the tiering. Though that said, I would recommend other Tier 2 tanks as well for you to try out, just to try out the different styles. But anyway, I digress. So, let's have a look at the stats before we go more into my own personal story on this game. 170 hit points. This is pretty much... You're on the higher spectrum of things in World of Tanks. If we go from top down, you will go through there. So yeah, the top 170 hit points. Let's look at possibly the worst Tier 2 in the game. Yes, the Mark VAT Type B has 150 hit points. I don't know what it's like when it's fully upgraded. I believe it's like, what, 165 perhaps? I think they go up... oh, excuse me. They go up to 165 if you're at 150. The French... Don't believe the French was here when I started, but yeah, the French came in and they have lower health, which means possibly it's going to be 155 for them, but they do have better armor. They have probably the best armor at lower tiers, especially at that bastard 4 tier, but we'll go on to that another time. The other French tank, the D2, D1, I think it has a little bit more health, and you can upgrade the armor turret, but I said the armor is still very much... Well, it's not as good as the one to the left, but this one is still good armor. If we go past the Germans, because well, no, we could look at the Germans if necessary. Let's have a look at the Panzer 35T, which I believe has, yeah, the same armor. So that's like, I believe, 170. Panzer I. I don't know whether this one has as much health. No, this one is the lower end of the spectrum. Yes, mass-produced German tank in 35. Panzer I eventually being total at 600. It was weak, but was up. Yeah, so this was like the first German tank to prop Panzerkampf 1, but it was ghastly and horrible, and I don't like it. It's a very ugly-looking tank. But anyway, so the Germans pretty much on high with it. The British as well. The Medium 2, very good tank. Practically no difference to the Medium 1. can tell the British were ahead of themselves when it came to tanks. That wasn't too bad. It has 170 hit points, but the armor is terrible. The Cruiser 1, another British, I believe, light. Though you can't really say light with these things because they can't. Oh, no, that goes 440 quid. 40 miles kph. And that has 150 health, which means it's probably going to be 170, if I'm not mistaken. So that's another one on the higher end of the spectrum. The T2 medium has 155, which either makes it 175 or a little bit more. I can't remember, I'm afraid. This one is 140, so that's 160 health. And then we have our Russians, with the BT2 being at 140, which means it's 160 health, and the T26, which is 150, which makes it 170 health. And we'll have a look at this one here, which is 150 health, which makes it into 170, which looks to be another little fast tank, if I'm not mistaken. 35. Huh. 5,000. Oh. That's quite a crap tank. But fair enough, that's what Russians are for. Little to no innovation. So, health point wise, there isn't that much difference or contrast in a sense between the two. That's pretty good. You're pretty much on the higher end of the spectrum, so it'd be great. Oh, it's pretty good for that one. This vehicle weighs about 9.5 tons, and as such, this is without equipment, and you can go up to a maximum of about 10 tons, or nearly 11 to be honest with you. But yeah, so that's pretty. It's pretty good weight for a tank at this tier. If we have a look at the engine power, you will see that the specific power for horsepower per ton is 16.91, which is pretty good actually. I mean, it definitely gets you someplace, and it gets you up to a good speed, which is 40. No different to the almost 4 kilometers an hour faster than that tank, but you could, which is pretty good going on the flat ground. The traverse speed is no different, which is quite helpful, especially when it comes to going close up. Now, the hull armor. This is going to be an interesting one because actually the hull armor for a German tank, this tank, is actually not bad. You've got 30 on the front, 20 to the sides, 15 to the rear. So, okay, it's not perfect. You will still be penned, but armor-wise, you're pretty good. You're in the middle part of it. I'd say you're in the middle to higher end because the best armored, the best armored opponents you'll find are the H-35s and the D-1s. Those two kinds of tanks will be a pain in the arse to pen, and you probably won't pen them, but they're still very good. So yeah, you probably won't be able to shoot and destroy them. But that said, I don't often see H-35s or D-1s often, so either because of balancing or because of the lack of French players, either way. But no, why is that wise though? It's pretty well armoured, this tank, and it does the job basically. With Tier 2 tanks, most of the time it does the job. Anyway, so let's go down to 44 Traverse Turret, which is actually very good for a tank like this, because when you're going into Tier 2 battles, more often than not, you'll end up probably finding yourself in a situation where there are multiple bad guys around you, and you've got to stay aware of them. So another little thing to keep your eyes peeled for. 320 view range. We're not going to go through all the lines of tanks again because it just would take too long. But that said, German view range is pretty good with 320 meters. And one thing, finally, to go to the radio range, this is one of the distinctive traits of being German. This is where the German engineering starts to come through, even at this low tier. Now, of course, if you just go into the tech tree, wrong tech tree, I always do that. If we go into this research tree here, you'll no doubt see that we go from a Tier 2 radio straight up the lines to being a Tier 6 radio. If we have a look, there you go. It's fantastic. The Germans at Tier 2 have the capabilities of buying a damn good radio at lower tiers. And this compatible vehicles list makes it so that the Germans have possibly the greatest amount of radio compatibility ever. The only people who I believe have a similar kind of thing towards this are either the British. If we have a look, I went through. What did I go through? Oh, it was a Cruiser 3, wasn't it? Yes. At tier At tier 2, if you want to spend that much time on it, you could actually end up getting yourself a tier 10 radio, to a tier 7 radio, which gives you 450, which means for the rest of the duration, for pretty much most of the duration of the tech tree, you will never have to worry about upgrading your radio. And in fact, at tier 4, you get the option of upgrading to the better 550 radio, and then you can basically progress through the tech tree without so much as batting an eyelid to doing stuff. And it's the same for the Germans. The Germans at tier 2 can get a damn fine radio, and then you can get a specialized one for the lighter tanks. If you have a look here, you'll see all the little tiny tanks, which are more scoutified, have their own special radios. But when you go past it and hit Panzer Ostif A, same here, but when you hit tier 4, then you get what I call the best upgrade you'll ever find at FUG 12, but that's a couple of videos away. So, yeah, German-wise, Germany gets the better radios earlier on, and like you've seen in previous videos, and I've explained to you in the first video, the radio can be very useful, especially if you've got a mod that shows you how far your radio range is. So now that we've looked through the stats of the tank, let's have a look at the guns. Now, the Panzer II has a selection of 3 20mm cannon. Now, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but the thing is, it's difficult to kind of tell what is a distinct advantage. I kind of look at the tiering of these things now, because it's... Hang on, let's get the characteristics out. So there's the first gun, there's the second gun, and then we'll put the top gun... Oh, that's the turret. And then let's put the top gun... Where is it? There you are. Ah, goddammit. Right, okay. Move that to the side. Click on that. Put that down south. Put that there. Right, okay. So, this is the gun you start with. And at first you can see 20mm, 20mm, 20mm. No difference. Time of loading one shell is the slowest on this one. Whereas the next one along, the 38L55, is faster by a fair amount of microseconds. The time loading is pretty much the same kind of penetration, the same kind of damage. Accuracy is better, and the aiming time is better by a microsecond. So that one clearly is a distinctive loss. So when you get onto this one, there are the advantages you have there. And then, of course, this one is basically just about getting the gun working faster. And then, of course, you get the distinct advantage. Should have clicked... Hang on, click that back up again. Then, of course, you get the distinct advantage here, which is you've still got the same aiming time, but the penetration is so much better on the L112. Then you've got the same kind of damage, but the accuracy is a hell of a lot better. And the weight, although it weighs a bit more, it actually works a lot better for your tank. So, yeah. The L112 is pretty much the best kind of, well, for tier 2 at least, it's a good gun. It definitely works pretty well for you. I mean, I prefer shell types, but with this does the job pretty well for you. Now, when it comes to firing, well, when I talk about shell types and auto-loading machine guns, technically speaking, you get the auto-loading machine guns from about tier 1 to tier 4. Oh, no, tier 3 mainly. Tier 3 is the last way you still got tier 3, but it's not in tier 3. You still have the machine guns, but then once you leave tier 3, you start hitting up into the better parts where you got mostly shells, or in fact all shells, which is fantastic. But that said, these things still can be useful, but you have to kind of, when you shoot someone, the main hope, and this kind of sounds a bit silly, but most of the time with these things, it feels like you have to try and kill them in one massive round burst. Because at this kind of tiering, if you're lucky enough, you can actually kill someone, or at least severely damage them before they can do anything to respond. This is kind of one of those hit-and-run weapons. This is why certain tanks such as the Panzer I-C at tier 3 are so feared, because they literally can run up towards the side of your armor or find your weakest point because of their high speed, zap you to death with their rapid fire weapons, then bug out before anyone notices what's happened. And that's pretty much the best kind of tactic to utilize against when you've got 20mm cannon. But for things like this, for for a tier 2 main battle tank, I'd suppose the best thing to do is to just get up close and just batter them to death with it. I mean, I'm going to show you in the combat video, but kind of looking at it, I'm trying to remember the tactics I used to utilize for this thing, because I've grown so used to using shells now, and I use my tanks like I use the heavy tanks now, which is a bit annoying because I want to go down a medium line, so I'm using my medium tanks like heavies, which isn't helpful. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, yeah, this thing, on a whole, this thing is pretty darn good. It definitely is a good tank to go through. It's a very valuable lesson in the sense of how to use a 20mm cannon, because afterwards you don't really get the options of using. You do get the options of using it, but then by the time you're in that region, you start bumping into shells again, and automatically you can tell either the tier 1 L46.5 is much better, even by 1, does a much better job, and it's free. So when you start bumping into stuff like that, you get much more damage, you get much better penetration, and generally speaking, the shell types start taking over, and you start getting into nice, awesome tanks. So now that we've talked about the tank and the gun and everything on the tier 2, let's talk about the crew skills. Now, when you've gone from the Le Tractor to the Panzer II, when you go to buy stuff, I'm going to give you the biggest and most helpful piece of advice in the damn game so far, and I'm sure it will be... You'll appreciate it in the long run, believe you me. When it comes to buying a new tank, never, ever, ever, well, never purposely just stick with 50%. I know it's a pain in the arse to be told that you've got to spend more time with the tank that you've worked with for a while, but believe you me when I say that when you get that, and you know, when you get the ability to buy a new tank, buy it with a 75% crew. Now, the reason why I say this is because when your tank is being run by the crew, the tank stats, if we have a look at them, don't actually say what the tanks perform to at the level of your crew. It performs at when your crew is at 100%. So, when you get a crew that's at 50%, imagine that instead of at 40, you now go to 20. Yes, that is what I mean. It basically makes the tank not as good as it could be. And that's not down to equipment, that's not down to your playing, it's down to the crew. And that's what you may need to make sure is at a decent level. 75% may make it a little bit more of an expense, but it is worth it in the long run. Because when you get tanks such as, say, if I go to all, then go to all nations. If you go to all nations and get oh god, I have lots of destroyed tanks. Keep forgetting to do that. If you get a crew of, say, 50% in an American tank like this, and you like put them at 50%, you have basically bankrupt yourself to spending forever you basically ended up going, ah shit, and the tank will never won't perform to its greater standard until it hits either 75 or when it hits 100%. So 75% is the best kind of like standard for when it comes to getting a new tank. So if we go back to Germany and then go back to light tanks, when it comes to buying tanks, just stick with 75%. Because your tank then will perform to a good standard, your crew will be able to perform to a good standard, and instead of you thinking, oh, for God's sake, if only my crew were, like, better, I could shoot that bastard and load up faster. Because it's very important, put it that way. I will just stay there. I'll state there. It is very important that you get your crew to 100%. Well, at least get your crew to 75%, then you can work your way a lot faster to 100%, because then your tank will be able to perform better. Put it that way. So, what is the benefit of being at 100%, may you ask? Well, if you are at that tier where you're going to be there for a while, or you're in a position where you've ranked up the tank and you want to keep it, your crew can actually get themselves some perks and skills. What does this mean? Well, it means that your tank can not only perform to the stats that are on the right, but it can perform above and beyond the call of duty. For example, with my commander at my E75, he not only has got to 100%, but he has also got a perk which allows him to tell whether he's been spotted. He also has the ability to repair his tracks faster, and he is now training on how to give his crew extra experience when he is fighting through the German, whilst when he is fighting in battle. Now my crew can rank up a little faster, and each of these roles in the tank has their own personal skill set to train from, and also a common skill set to train from. So for example, let's go to the gunner. I won't go too into this, but when you get into the skill sets, when you hit 100%, there will be a plus sign, like a box and a plus symbol. That basically means your guy can now train in a skill. And what this means then is you can select from a variety of skills and perks to train up in. I would highly recommend what you would first train up in, though, is, well, at least for this one, is either repairs, the ability to repair stuff faster, or snapshot, because basically it's a skill. And a skill, as it says here, comes into effect after the training starts, and it increases with the level. So, rather than a perk, which if it goes to here, it basically means the perk, it comes into effect after you've trained to 100%. So despite selecting it, you won't actually see the benefits of said perk until your perk is at 100%. So what you want to do is you want to train up in a skill like repairs or snapshot. To be honest with you, repairs are the better option, because with repairs they aren't as noticeable as, say, a snapshot is. And what you want to do is you want to train up in repairs, and then once your repair skill is at 100%, so a bit like training your crew up again from that to 100%, you can then do what is known as dropping the skill. You click on the drop skill, which basically drops that actual skill that you've trained in, and it allows you to pick another skill set to do, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. I quite like that. So for example, if I wanted to click there, I click on drop, and now my crew, actually I will do it with my radio operator, because my radio operator is at already 96%. So I say, for example, I wanted to try giving my dude the ability to firefight, or get something like that. I can click on drop, and there you go. It means now that I've got 1 times 100%. If I added 20,000 to it, I now have 92%. So that basically means I can drop the skills there after I've dropped the skill, and I can select a skill or a perk, which as soon as I click on it, it basically means I can click on a skill or perk. I won't have to train in it, but instead I can now select a skill or a perk that I couldn't get before without taking forever, and it just speeds up training. That's pretty much how it goes. So there's a sort of brief aspect to skills and training for you, and when you get that, you get the ability to you basically, it makes the tank work much better for you and for the game. Right, so with that said, thank you very much for listening on that one. Now let's actually get into the battle itself, because I've been rambling on, and obviously you guys are probably more interested in the tank itself, so I'm going to tell you and, well, show you a battle, and I'm dead. No, unfortunately, tiering-wise, this thing isn't so popular with tiering, and we're in a very much open environment, so this may not go well for us. But at least it's not an assault, because an assault is an arsehole in this game. But no, we're in a tier 3 battle now. Most of it's tier 2, but we've got a fair amount of tier 3s, and we are on the good side as well, which is very nice. So yeah, there's a Panzer I-C, my mortal enemy. If there's a mortal enemy of all lighter tier vehicles and lighter armoured vehicles, because it will drive up to you, and you won't even see where the bastard came from before you die. And it looks like the enemy has LTPs. Bollocks. Right, so this gun isn't going to be as useful as I hoped, but if I can just stick to smaller targets, we may yet be successful. So there's the LTP. Which is a very good tank, actually. The free gift tank that they gave to us, that Wargaming gave to us on its 15th anniversary. So if you guys joined after the 15th anniversary, I don't believe you get it, which is a real shame. But I guess they'll probably give us something a little bit better or a little bit worse, depending on... Is the music a little bit quiet in this game? Volume. No, it's actually quite a decent volume. It just seems a little quiet for me. just going deaf now, aren't I? Too many video games. Whoa! Yeah, the LTP has like a 45mm gun on it, or is it 45 or 37? Not a very powerful gun, but the armor on it actually more than makes up for it. So technically speaking, I'm taking the very much stupid approach. Well, stupidly cautious, but most of my team are taking cover by the road, which I suppose isn't bad, but nobody's watching that flank unless, oh, of course, my radio isn't as perfect, so it could be that most of our tanks. Right, okay, I can shoot this wanker, and there's another person I can shoot. Yay! Right. Now, this thing isn't really long range, but at the same time, I do not want to be caught in the melee. So I'm going to sniper mode, target him, because he is the weakest of all the armor. Ba-ba-bow, ba-ba-bow. That did bugger all. Move up. Right, there's a side armor shot. And side, wait for it to aim. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So you can see I've done a fair amount of damage to him, but not enough. The LTP's probably going to come in and steal a few kills. Wait for it to shoot. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. There you go. Nice shots. And ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bang. And I wasn't successful in killing him, but now there's another LTP, so now I need to take cover. Oh, I can actually pen him. Okay. Didn't think I could. Oh, shit. I'm being shot at. Right, where's the back of that other tank? Right. Not really keen on charging down, so let's just take a little bit more of a cautious approach. Wait until that Panzer II comes out. Ba 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 ba. Right, yeah. Right, let's go help out my LTP friend, shall we? Right. If I can damage his tracks, it might stock him. And there you go. Rear armor. Penetrating. There's the target I want to shoot at. The weakest British tank in the game. Well, weakest armoured. There's the T-60. Right, there we go. Little bit of damage. Now let's charge into the fray. Bum bum ba da ba ba bum ba 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 bum ba 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 bum ba ba ba. Oop, he's taking an extra damage. My gun is so OP. Right, so we're currently mopping up now. We've done a pretty good job. They still have an Su-76, and they're all probably camping in this quadrant here, because all TDs like going there. So I could easily be destroyed, if we're unlucky. And there's the FT bastard there. Slow down. He's spotted me. Right, there we go. Sometimes, as much as the 20mm isn't as effective, just being splammed by this can panic some players. I know it sounds a bit silly, but there are some players I've seen who, when you start shooting at them, and I think morale does come into it, if you start shooting at someone a lot, like blah 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 blah, all the message systems goes beep 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 beep, you're being shot at, beep beep. Oh, thank you very much. You know, and the whole game is just like, oh, what's going on? Oh, like that, and that basically results in you kind of killing off the player. Hello, I'm gonna mark him actually. Yo, RT. Blow him up. Oh, there's a gun carrier, though. Right. Okay, he's gone. Oh, you git. I shouldn't have moved. I forgot that gun is like that. Bollocks. I shouldn't have moved up. I should have waited because I'm a twat and I was too excited. And I did a fair amount of damage. I didn't do too much. I mean, there isn't much you can do at a lower tier for tier 3 matches, but I did a pretty good job. I knocked out, the LTP with me knocked out more of the tanks. But we did a good job. Now let's see how the Su-76 copes. Or are they cowardly? Yeah, they're hiding in the forest back there. Oh no, the Su-76 is actually trying to go for the base. He's done it kind of well. Oh, he failed. The Su-76 though, base is undefended. But there's too many of our dudes to get him. Though they shouldn't really cap because, well, you know, there's only one of them left. And, you know, there's only one enemy guy left and you could all take him out. But, of course, these guys are new, so I'm not going to... Yeah, and these trying to cap as well, which is a bit stupid. Because this is another little thing. Don't cap if you're the last guy alive. Really don't. Because you're just telling the enemy where you are. And admittedly, our crew should never... You should never not cap either, because... you should never cap when there's only one dude left. Because you've got the ability to get a kill. Or do damage to him. Of course, I can't control it. but still. There you go. I got 2,000. How did I do for damage? I did the most. There you go. So even though I didn't actually get a kill, and the person I think who was working with me got most of the kills, either because he stole my kills or otherwise, I got 1,142 experience doubled and did pretty damn well. So, yeah, that's how you operate a decent tank. And that's also thanks to my crew skill being at 75%. So, we'll have one more battle to compensate for the fact that I haven't really... oh, God, same place. Worst tank. Oh, no, we should be alright. Actually, I don't know, actually. This is tier... Yeah, this is tier 3. We might lose this one, though, because we've won one. Oh, we're the same map, though. Same tactics. If it works, it works. Okay, so... And this time, remember not to go across the bloody ridge. I swear to God, if I die by the same consequences... But that said, we need to be in favourable circumstances. But whatever happens, happens. Yeah, don't... Yeah, some people might...
Time to roll out.
Well... Oh, wrong one. Oh, good, huh? I can have fun anyhow. It's always good to be sportsmanlike. I always find being a sportsman... I admit there are occasions where I'm not feeling very sportsmanlikey, but it's always important to be nice, because it doesn't take much to be nice. And to be nice to someone may mean that you get to, perhaps... now this team is spreading out a bit more, which is kind of a good thing. And there's the BT2 scout going desperate for running in, and he's bumped into a T82 and M2 medium. But that said, he's also spotted the T82 and M2 medium. So the enemy team are a lot more aggressive than they were previously. In fact, they are pretty much charging up the line, and we have suffered the first casualty, which is a tier 3 T82. So the enemy are really starting to push up now. So this is slightly concerning, but only if they break through. We've already knocked out one of their tanks, which is quite nice. And we've also got a TM Pack 40, though the M2 medium is taking cover there. And we've lost 3 tanks to their 1. So this is where it can become a little interesting. Right, there's their Panzer III. And there's their T26. It's a bit of a long range, but we'll see what happens. Right, so the range is a little bit too great on that one. This is where a shell type tank would perform much better than the one I've got. But we will do what we can. Right, there's their Panzer III. I can pen the side of him, no problem. There you go. I did a little bit of damage. There you go. Right, he's dead. Good. Oh, there's a Panzer II as well. Right, where's that? Yeah, they're being a hell of a lot more aggressive, but that's only because we're taking sufficient casualties, which isn't very good. This is not good at all. So we might lose this one, which is a shame, but at the same time, if we can identify it right, there's the Panzer II. Right, I'm being shot at now, so we've got to be careful. Ah, fuck, puddles, hang on. Right, do a little bit of damage, back up a little bit. Aim, shoot. Try and hit the treads. Ah, shit, lost our T26. Move up. Yeah, so you can see the front of the tank he's driving straight into that river as well. He doesn't know where he's going. Or is he? No, he's just driving straight into the river, which will drown him. Oh no, he's actually doing quite a clever thing. Though the T57's a little eager. A bit. Way! Hello. Do we have the engine? Right, he's gone. Then the T57 done a stupid thing. Reload. Ooh, you could die. Right, I've put myself into a bit of a poor position. Because now we're all kind of clustered into this one kind of fish in a barrel situation, which is not so fine. Just fire my gun a little bit. There is their gun. Scouting. Right, there's one. There's a T26 coming up. Be careful. Right, I'm dead. Oh. Not the cleverest of tactic, Crap Hunter. Bollocks. Alright, well, unfortunately, we were eventually, yeah. Good game. Yeah, so unfortunately, we were caught out in that one. Didn't do as much damage as I had previously hoped. But we did pretty well, considering. We got the most experience. I got the second most experience. The FCM dude was pretty good. He did the most damage, which is fair dues to him. And I could suppose that, you know, I think it's only fair. 1 victory, 1 loss. But as you can see, we did some stuff. We did some pretty decent damaging hits. Unfortunately, we're just caught at the wrong point. I shouldn't have charged down into there. But there you go. There's stuff. There's something, a little bit of a lesson. This is, in a sense, this basically shows the highlight. This shows like the positive sides and the negative sides of a 20mm cannon. So, yeah, hopefully you guys appreciate that, and hopefully you guys like this video. If you like this kind of stuff, feel free to let me know by putting it in the comment section down below, clicking on that like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. Feed the fun machine, because it needs to be fed. It's always appreciating new subscriptions, new likes, new comments. Everything like that is fantastic for the channel. And if you have any kind of feedback for this kind of stuff, feel free to let me know. If I didn't mention stuff like, you know, talking about like when I was talking about the crew skills, did I ramble on? Did I not ramble on? Did I talk a bit too much about the intricacies of the equipment, or did I not talk about them enough? Did I not talk about armor enough? Did I not do this? Generally stuff like that. But yeah, generally speaking, if you have any kind of feedback, that would be greatly appreciated. No spam, because let's face it, it's not nice to see it, and I'll just get rid of it anyway, so whatever. Apart from that, though, thank you very much for watching. This is Crap Hunter signing out. Catch you next time, guys.